Hey everyone, Christian from PixlFeed here, and welcome to another episode of PixlFeed Radio. And I'm here with my friend, Jonathan Varela. What's going on, Jonathan? How you doing, man?
Hey man, happy to be here. Didn't know you
Awesome.
have a podcast actually.
You should know this, man. You're part of my copywriting team.
I know, which just shows how unprofessional I am to the world. Thank you so much.
No, this stuff doesn't require copywriting, so I don't blame you. And I write the descriptions myself for YouTube, so who cares?
No
Anyway,
problem.
what's going on, man? How you been? How's everything?
It's been pretty busy week. You know, my boss is just about to become a father, which means the responsibility. He just became a father like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, Mario was supposed to be here, and
Yeah.
he just had a kid today. So congratulations to him. So, but we had the schedule, so let's get it done, man. So, all right. So usually so obviously this post, I've been on a copywriting kick for the past year actually, and more so this week. I just remembered I did a video copywriting this week, and it just so happened that the date that we had set out, it was the same week. So
Yeah.
but I've been telling people, and everybody that I know, and everything that I've been doing with the videos, like how important copywriting is. I mean, we've been working on this project together for a while, and we keep tweaking and testing the copy and all that stuff, because every subtle change that we make, brings different results.
Definitely.
So before we get into the whole copywriting thing, I like to have people tell their story and how they got into, entrepreneurship and having their own business and all that stuff, because I don't know, people love that part of it. Or, you work with Mario, so
Yeah.
but tell us the story, man. How did it start? How do you get into copywriting, all that good stuff?
Actually, it's kind of a funny story. I was never supposed to get into marketing because I majored in psychology here in Mexico. And I hated it in the last couple semesters. It was like, I never want to ever work in this field, but I wasn't sure what I want to do instead. And one day, a very cliched story, I just basically I tripped and hurt my foot pretty badly. So I couldn't move for like 3 days or something. And I went on a Netflix binge, and I was hearing about this series. It was called Mad Men, Mad Men this, Mad Men that, and said, all right, I'll watch a couple episodes. And it changed my life forever. I suddenly knew what I wanted to do instead. So it was like, all right, I know it's advertising. I didn't know about marketing per se, but it was advertising. And at the end of the day, we do a lot of the things that aren't there, on a principal basis. And I said, all right, if I could just work on a campaign and a product and suddenly write these words or think about the perfect commercial, I would be so happy. And, I happen to have a friend who knew Mario indirectly. We just connected, and Mario gave me a shot and said, you know what? I'm building this translation agency for info products. At first, it was no copywriting, it was just translation. And the goal was to get Mindvalley, which we did, fortunately. But I never got to translate because, we had to adapt pretty quickly because, this company is asking for like case studies and stuff like that. So Mario was, all right, I can teach you about copywriting, and I can give you a few clients and you can learn fast or, sink or swim. So it was a lot like I'm learning, and next hour I'm applying this knowledge, and Mario's giving me feedback and correcting me, and then it's nonstop. It's been a couple of years. I've been writing, and now I'm teaching writers, and still I'm learning every single day. So in a nutshell, that's my story of how I became a copywriter and a team lead of copywriters.
But isn't it crazy? Like, I think about this all the time, especially when we started working together. Like,
yeah,
I've been in the States since I was like 13, right? So you would think that I could write whatever I wanted perfectly, you know what I mean? And until I really started studying copywriting, all my shit was like one line, words. My emails were like one-liners. It's like, I just hated it, man. Hated it. I still, to this day, when I open that word processor or notepad or whatever, and I just stare at it, I'm like, ah. But now more than I know copywriting, and I know the structure of not an email, but like a sales pitch, or, showing benefits, pain points, solving pain points and call to action, all that stuff. Dude, it's something that you can use daily on everything that you do, from a normal conversation to like writing an ad, to writing a VSL, to writing a landing page, a website, a conversation, right?
I've used it on Tinder with great results.
I believe it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You're selling yourself on Tinder. And
No,
the
really?
best part about it is that it goes to show you that when someone knows what they're doing, like, how old were you when you learned English? Because you're in Mexico.
Yeah, I started learning English when I was like 3 years old. So it was easier because, kids are like sponges.
Yeah.
So, I learned from 3 years old onwards. And I think I know a little bit more English than I do Spanish, which is ironic because, Spanish is so different depending on the country, depending on the region. It's difficult.
Right.
But English, yeah, I mean, I've been learning since I was a kid. And honestly, it's such a gateway to opportunity. If you know English, you can earn double or triple. That's the way it is. Mm-hmm.
And you guys can translate everything. Did you ever live here in the States, or how did you learn English?
I was fortunate enough that my parents, when I was in kindergarten, it was a bilingual kindergarten, and next, my elementary school was also bilingual. It was pretty good. Then high school, and honestly, my parents, since I was little, always would play movies, but in English with subtitles. Honestly, that little habit ingrains you, the connection between the words, the expressions, the slang, the culture, which is even more important than just knowing English. Being able to think in English, I think that's the key.
Yeah, it's funny because people think that whatever your native language is, like, dude, I know Italian, Spanish, and English, and I didn't learn English until I was 13, and I grew up speaking Italian and Spanish in my house. So people think, they always ask me, it's like, so how does it work? Like, do you translate everything in your head? I'm like, no. It's like, since I've lived for so long in the States now, and everyone that I speak with, it's English, besides, my son now, little pepperoni, and it's hard, dude. I try to speak Spanish to him as much as I can, but my wife doesn't speak Spanish. So, speaking English 99% of the time, the only people I speak Spanish and Italian with is my parents, right?
Yeah.
And my family, which, I don't talk to them all the time. But so it makes it a little bit harder. But let's talk copywriting now that we got that out of the way. So,
yeah.
All right. So I don't even know where to start. So a lot of people watching this, they're either doing funnels or they have a Shopify store. Okay.
Okay.
So when you're looking at a funnel, what's your approach? Like, I just want to learn about the process. What's your approach when, like, for example, working with me and I go, hey, I have this idea. Like, after I tell you my idea and I go my way, what happens behind the scenes, like with you and your team and Mario and everybody?
Well, it depends because, it's never the same process. You have to adapt according to resources. But let's take just an example. I always think, it's a bit like acting. That's what a lot of people don't realize about writing, that it's about putting yourself in a role, because you're not writing as yourself. I'm not writing as Jonathan. I'm writing as Christian Lovrecich. And I need to think a little bit like you, like, how does he say these things? How does he speak? How does he write? What will he think? So if I'm thinking about a headline, which the headline is like the most important thing of almost every single thing you do in copywriting, I'm thinking like, what would be not my headline, but Christian's headline, and then try to adapt and refine. So a lot of brainstorm. It's a little bit more intuitive than it used to be with my lead writer. And she's like, all right, Christian, requires this. This is the approach. How will he say this? All right. So we first think about the headline, and we spend a lot of time, even more than writing like the full text, because once you have that, it's easy. Once you know the main angle, it's all about angles. Like, what's the angle here? What's the key? What's the hook? Once you have that, it's pretty easy to go downwards. I know it sounds super simplistic. It's not the whole thing, but it's the main idea of how we work. For example, in your stuff. But in a funnel, it depends. We created a funnel a couple of weeks ago for another client, and it was hard because it was about, one was easy. It was about selling a flashlight for military people, like this tactical thing. And it was just about
people are still selling those things.
Yeah.
Dude, oh, that's crazy. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that was the easy one because you know that these people are like ex-military or want to be military or are in military families. So it's about thinking, all right, what matters to these people? It matters to them, their country, their people, semper fi, So you just go into some forums, learn how they speak, learn a little bit of their expressions, and you start. But the hard one was selling a school ring for Gothic people. I know nothing about Gothic people because I'm not into that thing into those things. But it was like, what's the angle? Because selling jewelry, it's a non-essential.
Okay, so hold on, let me stop you right there because people are going to be watching this and they're going to be like, they don't know like I do. So you're looking at the Gothic ring. Let's talk about the Gothic ring, right?
Yeah.
I love how I point to my wedding ring. So the first thing that you do is look for an angle for the product or multiple angles for the product. So like if somebody has a product, like just walk me through how you guys do it, or tell people how to do it.
Yeah, first thing, I'll just speak from our process, because I'm not saying that this is the correct process. There can be an even better one.
No, this is how you do it. This is all about how you do it. That's fine.
Sure. So our process, first, I as my lead copywriter, so let's delve first into the psychological reasons on why people buy jewelry before we even start. Before we even try to get an angle on it's Gothic, it's dark. Now let's research that, because sometimes you need to research a lot. That's a lot of the copywriting aspect that people think they don't have to pay for, but no, you have to research a lot of stuff that you don't know. So it was about, all right, why do people buy jewelry? Why is jewelry still important? Why was jewelry important in ancient cultures? And it was about, all right, because it symbolizes something. At the end, that was like the main conclusion, because it symbolizes something. It says something about who you are in a symbol. And I mean, in a piece of jewelry. So it was, all right, what does it say about this audience? And what does it say that's now the most cliched stuff? Trying to get to the heart of the matter. That's simple,
Mm-hmm.
So it connected to us because we had to do like a couple advertorials for people that don't know. That's like native advertising, like writing an article, but that disguises a little bit of a sale. It's like a pre-sale before you get to a sales page. So you read the article, you connect with that emotionally, and then you want to buy. So it made sense for us once we devised a story where, a son lost his father. He never had the chance to make things up with him. And this skull ring supposed to symbolize death, but not death like in a bad sense, like, oh yeah, I hope you die. It's supposed to symbolize, it's supposed to symbolize like honoring the dead, basically. And here in Mexico, we have Dia de Muertos, which is a very popular tradition here, where dead people are never really gone. You honor them each year. So we started there, like, all right, let's use it as the best way to honor someone. And it was a very expensive ring. That was even harder because if you're selling something cheap, you can use the angle.
Oh my God! It just clicked in my head. Whose product is this? I know whose product you're talking. Oh, okay. I know exactly. Okay, I know exactly what the product is. All right, go ahead. I know who it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and just clicked, because it was like, it's super expensive. We can't play the low price angle, but let's not even do it. Let's go the other way. Let's say, yeah, it's expensive because it's supposed to symbolize something that's handcrafted, that's handmade, that's unique, like your relationship to this person was.
Oh,
so that was sort of the angle here that we got it started.
I know exactly who it is. You can tell me. He's been on this podcast. He's one of my really good friends. Yeah. So yeah, it's Phil, Ghostwriter, right?
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's why. All right. So you guys found the angle. All right. I know Phil's brand very well, so I can see why. So once you found the angle, he built a whole funnel around it. Everybody knows his brand. So he built a whole funnel around it, or he just used this for the product pages?
He basically asked us to take a look at the product, come up with a few upsell ideas because he didn't have them at the time. We delivered those upsells. Basically, Mario laid out the structure, right? Like there's going to be 2 advertorials. It's going to be it's first going to be like couple Facebook ads, I think it was, for each advertorial, then the advertorial, then the sales page, then the upsell, then the checkout page, right? So once we had like the main angle, it was easier to translate that into the upsell, because the emotional connection should be the same in order to make sense. If you're going from a product to an upsell, it should be a similar emotional connection. So it was easier to make the upsell in that sense. The hardest part about being a copywriter is finding something to say that's worthwhile, because there's a lesson in copywriting that I've always taken to heart, which is not because you have the job to write something, the client has the job to read it. So make sure it's compelling. So finding that which is compelling, which makes sense and clicks, is the hardest part. Writing is easy, but finding that thing about what you're writing for, that's the hardest part. Finding the heart of the story.
All right, so we got number one, figure out your headline. That's the most important thing. That's what's going to make somebody take action. Yeah. Two, find multiple angles in your product or your offer or your whatever you have that you're offering. And what's the next step after that? I mean, I'm at this point, you're hitting pain points and you got your angles. So what are you going to do after that? You're going to hit those pain points and offer the solutions to those pain. I mean, I know the answer, but I want to see what your process is.
Yeah. Well, even before we get into the pain points, I have a little practice with my team, which I think is pretty useful. I mean, in case you want to try it, or it's a pretty simple thing. Give me your worst ideas, but give me the worst possible ideas first, because you're going to find that it's easier to have bad ideas than it's to have good ones. And curiously enough.
So what do you recommend people to do? So write down a bunch of ideas on a piece of paper or your computer or whatever, just whatever comes to your mind, and then split them.
I would say, what's the worst way I can sell this? What's the worst angle? What's the worst thing I can do for my client? Because once you have that clear, you're going to steer away from those things, and intuitively, you're going to realize what your clients need. Let's say if I have to sell clothing, what's the worst way you can sell clothing? Try. Let's try just for fun. Let's say it's bikinis. What's the worst way you can advertise one bikini?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. The worst way you could advertise a bikini.
The worst ad you could make for a bikini.
Perfect for the winter? I don't know, man. You put me on the spot. This is something I'll have to think about. Because I'm thinking beach and body, feeling great, looking good, save time. Everybody wants to save time and money. So that's the angle that I would look for right off the bat. But what would be the worst angle?
I like the one that you said, save time dressing, just put on a bikini, which is not half bad. It could be interesting if you actually play with it and but it's all about giving your worst ideas, and you're going to find along all those thirds, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say thirds, you're going to find something interesting, because you're trying to do the opposite. Instead of trying to be great, you're trying to be the worst possible copywriter, and that works because it fills your creative juice. So, it has worked for me. I have done it for the past 6 months, and it's great results, man. Look always for the worst way to sell your client's product, and you're going to find something very interesting that you wouldn't have thought if you just focus on selling the right way, because that's good. You can find a template in Google on how to sell a product. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of examples. You can research ads from the past, and it's going to be great. But give your worst ideas first, and then they're not going to bite you in the ass. That's my recommendation before anything else.
So another thing that so you do that, you find the multiple angles, and then what do you move on to after that? Once you have an angle, how do you break it down? Do you do bullet points? Do you just expand on that angle? What's the process there?
I look for structure first, because we have done so many times a sales pitch and everything else. We just look for the one that's the more fitting, the one that has the less bullshit structure approach, because a lot of things that copywriters, especially new copywriters, do, they think they have to write a lot in order to justify their paycheck, right? If I'm not writing, I'm not really earning it. And no, it's about where you don't need to write. So it's about, if it's a sell page, what's the best structure? All right, it's product first, headline, product, then CTA, right? It's the most basic ever structure you can do for the first section, but it works. It works if you do it right. It works if it makes sense with all the structure of the entire funnel. Then it's all right, giving me some bullet points and maybe features, or if it's a product that's not a physical product, maybe benefits, like let's say a flashlight, like, it will give you 100% vision every single time. It can act as a weapon if you use it right. You can blind the attacker. It's about like what's more important, features or benefits. Then it's about, all right, how do we break it down a little bit more? Then using like timers for urgency. So the next step for me is structure. Knowing your structure pretty well, because then you can just fill in the blanks. But it depends on what you're doing. If it's a sales page, it's that. If it's an advertorial, it's about, the right, let's look for one that fits my product. If you haven't done them, you don't have that much experience. If you're doing a Facebook ad, it's the same thing, finding an angle. Then, start doing like, all right, what are the features? Is it short? Is it long? Is it medium? It's all about knowing the structure, like the card you're going to build. Structure is king, I think.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people do, and the mistake that I used to do before, like I went deep into marketing, is people get hung up on the features, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at a Ferrari or an Aston Martin ad or whatever. Well, Ferrari doesn't have ads, but Aston Martin, a Rolls Royce. They're talking about the experience. They're talking about like, feel great, feel luxurious, this is the life type of deal. They're selling you the dream, right?
Yeah.
When Ferrari or, I keep saying Ferrari because that's one of my favorite cars, but like Aston Martin, when you see their app magazines, or even watches, brand, watches, when you look at Rolex and all those, Breitling and stuff like that, it's never about like, check out our newest model that has a 50/50 chrono, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't go like feature. No. It's all about like, it's always a picture of a hot chick and the guy like maybe like, celebrating something, and they show the watch, and then the copy matches what the picture is showing. And that's what sets off our lizard brains, man. We have, people don't realize we still have this lizard brain that's built into us from day one, that I don't care, it's going to take a long time to get rid of that evolution wise. And you can still hit those points by hitting those emotional triggers. And, I've seen it. I've done it myself, just talking to people, and, and I've seen it in copy, obviously.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Aston Martin, because like every 3 years we happily pay to watch like a 2-hour commercial for Aston Martin, which is called James Bond, and the movie is coming out. That's the best commercial you can ever make for a car, because it's not about the Aston Martin. It's about, if I buy this car, I'm closer to being James Bond than I was before. Yeah. Or if I use the Omega watch that he always uses, I'm closer to being James Bond. That's advertisement at its core. Maybe it's 2 hours long. Maybe it has like some story there. You don't care about that thing. You care about who you can be, that you can be James Bond if you put the work into it, or you buy these things. That's
instilled into us since we're kids. When you're growing up and you're watching your idols, man. Like, I'm a huge Metallica fan. Everybody knows that. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Metallica fan.
Okay.
Like, dude, I was a kid, and like the first time I saw James Hetfield on stage when I was like 12, I was like, oh my God, I want to be him. You know what I mean? Just like the guitar and everything. And then it's that's how it makes an impression on you when you're a kid without you even knowing it. I mean, growing up, dude, I remember when I started smoking. I don't smoke anymore. I quit smoking 10 years ago. But, living in South America and Europe and all that, it's like, I used to watch Formula One when I was a kid. My dad, I still do. And the Ferraris back then, the wing had the Marlboro logo on the wing. It was sponsored by Marlboro. So the Ferraris were all Marlboro. And guess what I started smoking when I was 13? Marlboro Reds.
Marlboro.
Yeah. Because that was like brainwashed in my head since I was a kid, and it's, and it's just, I still remember billboards, and they're in Spanish and Italian or whatever, like the cowboy smoking a cigarette and the tagline,
those were great. Those were great commercials. I love those commercials. You look them up on YouTube. I know why they can advertise like that, but those were great because it was never about the cigars. It was about a snowy mountain and being a cowboy and feeling free. Yeah,
it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. So I'm assuming you have a swipe file, right? Every copywriter has a swipe file.
I do.
I have one too, man. But you know what? I always forget I have it. Like, I'm a hoarder. I'm a digital hoarder of swipe files, and I take screenshots and I save, if I see a funnel that I like or that I buy something from, I take that screenshot and save it. And then I forget about it like all the time, but I'm not a full-time copywriter. So
yeah.
So what do you recommend people for swipe files? Like where can they go to find like examples of how they should structure their swipe files so they're like easy access and stuff like that?
My recommendation, I think, goes two ways. First, the first one, if you are trying to write like a sales page and you are a new copywriter, look the best sales pages. If you just Google like best sales pages and their templates, it's right there. But if you really want to step up your game, don't look for what's new and don't look for what's trendy. Go all the way back to advertisement in the 60s, in the 1900s.
That's what I was going to say, old school stuff.
Yeah, go like 150 years, because advertisement is just all this time. Since man could speak, it could also write copy, basically. So go like 100 years back and see how people were selling. Look at how they use fonts. Look at how they structure words, because you're going to learn that a lot of it hasn't changed a single bit, because there's really nothing new under the sun. So if you really want persuasion, which is really copywriting, go all the way back. It's okay to start like with new templates, trying to copy the Apple landing page or stuff like that for the iPhone. That's cool. But if you really want to take the next step, go back. It never ever gets old, ironically.
You know what's my favorite for headlines?
Which one?
National Enquirer.
I think I've seen a couple.
Google National Enquirer. Just look at their headlines, dude. There's a reason why that freaking magazine's at the checkout at the grocery store, because it's so the colors. Yeah. All the headlines are always yellow and red, and it's just they're ridiculous headlines. Like they're clearly a lie, but they grab your attention. And if you Google National Enquirer headlines and you start looking at them and the Google images, you're going to realize it's pretty much always the same thing, but just different words and different, it's the same structure always. If you study it, it's like the same, way to get your attention and all that. So when looking at all that, I've done this. This is when like I used to make copywriting a lot harder. I used to think, okay, I got to come up with something, just stare at the blank screen. And then once I'm like, I just started going back, people from when I started learning. And I'm like, all I have to do is just grab like my favorite headline that I'm like, I dig that, and just play with it. And you can play with it and make it your own and have the same result.
Structure is king, man.
Somebody already did it for you. So, one of those things. But
structure is always king, because it's like how a body is structured. You can put a different hair, a different beard, a different facial features, but it's the same face, the same structure behind. That's what a lot of copywriters need to learn first. What's the structure behind what works? And then you can get it creative fast, because now you know where to be creative and where not to be creative.
Right.
That's, I think, a really good thing that you said. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I was just going to say, because, with your example of National Enquirer, here in Mexico, I'm not sure if the states allow this, but there's a very sensationalist newspaper here, which is called the Metro. And the Metro is like the most funny, macabre, and
that's National Enquirer. It's the same thing. It's ridiculous. Google it when we get off this thing, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's got a new gold mine.
Yeah, they show you like dead people or horrible accidents, stuff like you don't want to watch. But it has like the funniest headline you can ever imagine, that you want to buy it just to read what they had to say about it. And it's the most profitable newspaper for a newspaper firm here. It's the most profitable thing they do. It's like the cheapest, but it's also the most profitable because of that, because it grabs you. It does something to you. Even if you think you're above it, it does something to you.
I believe it. So, all right. So we got the basics of copywriting out of the way. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So, all right. So a lot of people watching this, they either have funnels, so they do email sequences for their leads, or they have Shopify stores that they want to promote their products and stuff like that. So let's talk funnels first. So what do you recommend people do when it comes to their email sequences? Like how to start them, how to drag them out if they have to write them themselves? Like, what is it that you recommend to do, after the offer?
If you're really new to this, I would recommend first, for people to, I'm not sure if they already know this, but I'm just assuming like they were like me, a total newbie. They don't know what the email flow is. So first, learn your flows. What's an abandoned cart? What's an upsell? Learn what's a re-engage flow. Those sort of things. Know what they're for, and therefore you can know what the email structure is going to be a little bit more. So for an abandoned cart, let's say if you're sending a promo to your list, all right, how many days it's going to take for me until the last email to get this entire sequence, right? Like, it's going to be a month. Is it going to be 2 weeks? Because that indicates how much urgency, how many emails, how not to spam your list every single day, maybe a couple days. I would say, learn when does your audience open emails first. Is it Mondays or is it not Mondays? Because a lot of people don't want to open an email on Monday.
Read your data. I tell
Exactly.
people every day on these videos, you got to know your data and your numbers. You got to know your numbers.
I would say research first. Google has a lot of great articles on Klaviyo or MailChimp on when is the best, when are the best times. Of course, you're going to do a lot of split testing and you're going to do a lot of adjusting, but just to get started, that's good. Before you even write a word, when are you going to send it? Plan it out. All right, so you're going to be like 6 emails on this promo. All right, so maybe the first 3 emails, I'm going to introduce this thing. I'm going to deliver some content, so it's not just sell. And then last 3, I'm going to hit it hard. Maybe I can send like the last 3 on the last 2 days, but the first 3 on a span of 2 weeks, for example, right? So knowing how many emails you're going to send and what's your time frame, that's paramount before you even write.
So that's for e-commerce. But what about the people who are doing lead gen?
Yeah.
So the follow up after the offer. What do you recommend there?
Well, it's all about how you've been nurturing, I think, your list, but in a very general sense. I think if you can get an email just after.
Let's say it's a cold opt-in. They don't know who you are. So whatever your offer is, you're a real estate agent. A lot of real estate agents watch this channel.
Okay.
So you're a real estate agent. Okay. You're offering, let's say the offer is, not to put you in the spot, but let's say the offer is work with me to sell your house or buy a house. Let's say sell your house. Let's focus on one, to sell your house. So they opt in to get a freebie, let's say a list of what you need to do to your house before you sell it. So they opt in. What goes after that for me as a real estate agent?
Okay, so you get a freebie, right? But I think I'm guessing like the ultimate goal is to get to schedule a call. Am I mistaken?
No, you're right. Schedule a call, yeah.
All right,
so I can get the business as a real estate agent.
So the first thing, in order to look good in the eyes of the people that are actually opting in, is delivering that right away. That's my approach. I don't want you to think that this is just like another scam in the internet. So if I'm offering you like this PDF where I tell you like the 5 secrets to sell your home, and yes, I'm going to deliver that. And in that same email, I'm going to give a little introduction on why is it valuable, who I am, and why it's still not enough just to know these things. And I'm going to keep you guessing, like, all right, just stay tuned for next email
go back,
where I can even
go back. The connection dropped a little bit. So keep you guessing. What did you say after that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave a little bit of interest, right? I'm not going to reveal everything there. I'm going to say, all right, you can get started by reading this PDF, this lead magnet, this, thing I'm giving to you. But if you really want to step up your game, stay tuned for my next email, right? Where I'm going to even explain this further. We actually did this, I think, with your sequence, right? It was a little bit different, but it was the same thing. Each email, I have to keep you guessing and waiting what's next, right? Because if that's it. This is all I need. Okay. Why should I open any more of your emails? That's the truth. I wouldn't, and I'm in this business. I know that.
Yeah.
So, but if I expand it and I give you a further reason to keep reading, if I tell you, all right, and then you can go 2 ways. If it's like a very reduced time frame, like in less than a week, you gotta make that call because that's what the client could afford or something like that. All right. So in next email, I'm going to talk to you about this, which is important because blah, 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 give people a reason. Don't, actually structure why they need to read the next email. And next email, you introduce the idea of actually getting on a call. And the third email, if it's like a 3 email series, and yes, just hit them hard. Like your appointments are really, just filling in fast, but you just save one spot. Make them feel special, but make them feel like this is going to be over. If you have like a more developed time frame, then you can actually deliver content, after the first email and not always sell.
this is where people mess up. They want to sell,
Exactly.
buy from me. That's all they do. And I tell them all the time, like, you guys are the worst. You got to provide some type of value, right?
Yeah.
So provide content, provide value, show that you're the expert. And once you show that you're the expert with content, people will come to you. Kind of like I'm doing here. Look at that, right?
Yeah.
What we're doing here. So exactly. So keep going.
No, I mean, I think it's perfectly accurate, because imagine if someone comes to you in the street and says, "Hey, buy from me, buy from me," which in Mexico happens, actually. That's
Chiclets.
why I know. Yeah, yeah, because, hey, man, here's like candy or something. You're like, no, thank you. But if someone came to me, I've always said this. If I had a chance, like, to do something for them, teach them a little bit about marketing, I would say, go, get all your savings, get like a cheap champagne, get some glasses, and pour like a champagne glass and give it to them and say, "Hey, sir, just wanted you to know that we have like this brand and this is a complimentary champagne." You're like, "Oh shit, right? something cool is happening here. What's your brand again?" You're gonna ask, "What's this about?" It's the same principle. If you give something that people want or need first, then asking for something in return, it makes more sense, instead of, "Hey man, give me."
I think, well, at first I was like, champagne, really? But I guess you can get a cheap bottle of champagne for $9, and then you sell the candy for 20.
yeah. So it's just an investment. This podcast is champagne, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's champagne.
It's not cheap champagne though. It's high quality stuff.
No, it's my wife's champagne, not my mistress' champagnes.
Yeah, exactly. The best part about this whole podcast is the people that are listening right now, they're already getting all this information for free, which usually you will have to pay a shit ton of money to get this information. So be glad that you're listening if you're listening right now. So, all right. So so that's a good way. And then from there, I tell people all the time, like we do with my sequence, it's, value and sell, I mean, we're all in business. It's not a surprise. What I do for a living. I got to make my money back at some point. Now, depending on the list, it's not out hardcore. I'm selling you the whole world, but my personal list, it's mostly content. Now that I think about it, it's mostly content, and then the stuff that makes me money on there, it's not even my own stuff. It's all affiliate links that I'm helping you with, that I use myself. So it's not even like a real, like I'm trying to sell you something that I would never use myself, or you know what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with selling as long as there's a purpose for it and you present it in the right way along with content.
I always tell people this, because when people that are not in marketing ask you what you do and why what you do is actually not cheap, it's actually expensive if you want to. Well, actually it has a price that's fair, I think. But I always say, when you met your girlfriend or your boyfriend, if you're a girl, or whatever, when you met that person, did you just say, "Hey, look how great I am, look how great I am, come on, just be with me"? It never works like that. Never. It's all about showing what you can do for the other person, what you can make that person feel, what you can deliver to this person, and then you can get in the conversation of getting into a relationship. It's the same principle. You need to give first. You need to know why what you're giving is valuable for the other person. You need to ask your as a copywriter and as an e-com store owner, for all of the e-com store owners listening to this, you already have a product, but why is it valuable? Why does it hold value? If it's clothes, right? Why is it important for people buying this clothes instead of other clothes? It's important to ask yourself why, and then so what? This is a test in copywriting that's just a classic. Like if you have an offer and you're like, "Hey, I have like this PlayStation that I can sell to you and it does these things." So what? If it doesn't pass that test, it's not a good pitch. So always ask yourself why and so what. Why and so what. Why and so what. And you're gonna refine your process a lot more.
That's a great advice, man. That's fantastic advice. All right, we're out of town, man. Sorry, I'm not out of town.
No problem.
Of time. But dude, thank you so much for doing this. We're definitely gonna do this again.
Yeah.
If anyone needs your guys' services, where can they find you? You and Mario, where can they find you? Where should they go? All that good stuff.
Right now, we're building the websites, but you can get it either through Christian here,
yes,
or just directly contacting Mario, which his name is Mario Torres. So yeah, I mean, if you can post like a link, or even my own Facebook, you can contact me under. It's the same thing, Jonathan Varela.
Just give me. I'll get a link from you guys, and I'll put it in the description. So if they want to contact you directly, that's cool. But for those of you that are watching this, we're building something really cool right now. That they're going to be part of too. So it's
going to be.
If you have e-com and you have big budgets, hit me up.
So
invite only though.
So the best way for people in your audience, they contact you, and if they need copywriting, it will come to us.
Yeah, that's how it works. Trust me on that. All right, man. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
And then I'll talk to you later on today. And then everybody watching, please leave a comment, subscribe, click on the next video, and we'll take it from there. See you guys later. Later, Jonathan.